Well, I'm going to come to that, but I'm not going to let go of the pain just yet, because I remember very, very keenly indeed. Did you also have that fear, right, they're coming up behind us, and then was there like that sinking feeling that crews were stuttering and unfortunately Linfield just powered through?
I think it was. I just think we weren't playing too well, and when you're looking over your shoulder in the previous season where we went on, we weren't looking at anybody. We just knew, as I say, when I was walking out on that pitch, I wasn't going out on that pitch going, will we win today? I was, how much will we win? But you just knew you were going out to win. When you were in that change room, you just knew. But in that second season, it was more of, you did feel like you were looking over your shoulder and you were maybe getting in and going, heading through to win 4-0 or that sort of way. So maybe that season it did play in a wee bit, but I think that's football, isn't it?
Well, indeed, and I'm going to pick up on what you said earlier on, because we will go to. I had the fear again. I'm wearing my supporters hat. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. I had the fear, as I say. I was worried, was the bubble burst? Was that were Linfield going to come on and dominate again or whatever? Because that was, that was a real mental blow, I would have thought. So it took character to dig deep. Mm-hmm. Crusaders had that character. But it's interesting what you said there, that you said that you felt that you really had to go and, just not worry about anybody else, but go and actually win the title without, be brave, be confident, go on the front foot. And that's exactly what happened the following season, when I think over 100 goals were scored. Phenomenal, right. Unbelievable. Yep. Tell us about that. Take us through the start, how you had to pick yourself up, and take us through, because of course there was an unbelievable dogfight with Coleraine at the end. So what are your memories of that season?
Memories of that season was, I really enjoyed that season. It was a really, really good team. I'd obviously been there for 2 years and felt sort of gradually myself building more and more into the team. I think that season I was playing on the left, maybe that season it was maybe, the second season I was dipping in the midfield a bit, playing wide right, where I think Gavin White was out the second season for a substantial bit of time, which obviously was a massive miss. But we had him back for that third season, and boy did we need him. He was unplayable that season, and he was a massive part of that team. But I think we also had Philip Laurie come into the team that year. I think maybe signed him in the January of the second season. Mm-hmm. I think it might have been. So it was his first pre-season with us, and he was a massive player for us.
A winner.
And I think that just brought another dimension to the team. Obviously him bursting forward, getting goals. We had Gavin flying down the right. I was on the left, and you had Big Chicken and Heats up front. So I just think that the shape of the team that season was much better. I think also we signed Sean Ward that season, which was a massive player for us too. Another Rolls Royce of a player. Mm-hmm. Could play left back, right back, centre half, centre midfield, and also great character.
Yeah.
Great character. I think that's the big thing over my time of Crusaders, is we've had massive characters here. Real good pros around the team. And obviously signing Wardy was one of those.
Of course. So, Cruiser scoring goals for fun, playing out of your skins, unbelievable, swashbuckling football, really cavalier, but you can't shake Coleraine off. Mm-hmm. And there was a bit of, like, it was neck and neck, and what do you call him? Darren McCauley, do you remember?
No, I remember him alright.
It was really exciting.
Yeah, it was.
And didn't he do a poem? He wrote and recited a poem.
Yes, I think he done a poem. I think it was about 3 weeks left this season. I think he done it. And they were, don't get me wrong, Coleraine were going well, but and Coleraine they were always there. They were always right on your tail. They were winning every week. But I think it went back. I think it was the first match this season we played Ballymena, and we won 4-1. But there was just a feeling of that night where I've had that feeling before of of a team sort of was clicking, and I remember just going, I think there's something here this year. You sort of got that feel about the team, and I think we went on then. I think I remember beating Mourne Point out here in the second game 5-0, and we weren't just so. I think from the previous year, you know, I think we were maybe playing teams and just falling over the line where you were starting to motor again and you were starting to pick up wins 4-0, 5-0, you know, so it felt good. But I remember that poem. I think we were downstairs, in the change room, and I think Ogres was the one to first see it. There's no better man.
No better man. I think he had the last word. We'll come to that.
No better man to see it first. He was not a great person to have in your change. I think everybody needs a Sean O'Neill in their change room.
Yeah.
You know, just great sort of, you know, great pro, you know, but just a real funny guy to have in your
Knows
change room.
when to clown about at the right time and knows when to switch on and focus.
See, when I first joined, I remember me and him became really close, really good friends. And I remember I was having a bit of a laugh and a joke with him, and we were walking into the change room, and I was in the change room, and I made a joke, and he turned. It was like a flick of a switch. He turned around, and he just looked at me, and he went, "Yo, game head on." So that was where
separation.
That was where separation. Mm-hmm. So that was a good lesson as well. You know, have the banter and have the joking, but see, once you're in the change room, it's game time. You know, so no, he was bringing character over the time he was here. You know.
He was, and it sounds to me like you're suggesting. I'm not saying you were fairly relaxed, but you were fairly confident about that season, because I mean, how confident were you at the showgrounds on the last day of the season? When it wasn't going our way.
Yeah. Well, on the last day of the season, you know, I think that's things you dream of. You know, going to the last day. You know, I think with my first league title, you know, we won it with a couple of games to spare, but with obviously getting into that game, you know, you have to win. There's no we'll pick a draw, hopefully Coleraine will draw, you know. It was basically, it's a cup final, you know, you have to go in and you have to win it. But I just remember about that day, you know, I remember sitting in the change room and just looking around me and going, right, like, we've been here before, you know, we've done it, so let's go out and show that we can do it. But obviously it didn't go to plan, you know.
So what happened when you went 1-0 down? Like, what can you remember from the game? Was there much talking? Was there much leadership? Was there any panic, anxiety?
I don't think so. I just think that, you know, you've been the boys that were in the team. You know, I had won my first league title, but you boys had so much experience, and I know I always keep coming back to that. But you just winners around you, and I just there wasn't like as if like we had a chat of like, let's go here or let's do this. I think at that stage everybody just knew what we had to do and we had to go for it. You know, you have to go and get that goal. I think obviously Philip Laurie got the equaliser, which was we always have a joke about that on the Ballymeena's pitch, sort of played a wee bit of helping hand, and I think it bobbled up and hit Rosslyn Denny in the face. And there's no better man to be in the 6-yard box than Philip Laurie to tap it in. But then after that, then with so many match winners in your team, and you just knew that somebody was going to get a chance. And to be fair, no better man than David Cushlick. You know, anybody that come in and step in there on his left foot, you know,
against his former club.
I just remember that day, the crowd were amazing, and just that whole stand at Ballymena was just packed out and
red and black, and
I just remember Cush scoring that goal and everybody trying to catch him as he run up the line, and you know, we're getting 2-1, but I think there was a massive bit in that game was there was I think it was maybe 5 minutes to go. Ballymena, I remember getting the ball up the right cross line. I can't remember who had it. Was it Friel?
Car Friel.
I think he had it. It was destined for the top corner, but big Brian Jensen.
Of course.
Big Brian Jensen. Absolute unbelievable save. I don't know how he done it. It was actually behind him, and he managed to claw it out, and that was a massive moment. Now I know Coleraine, they drew away to Navan, which if we had drew, obviously, you know, it's still won the league title, but we weren't to know.
No.
We weren't to know at that stage.
Couldn't bank on that at all.
But I just remember him coming in that season it was a massive thing too, you know. I think Ogres had a bad injury. And for him coming in, you know, Premier League player, you know, and just... How
did he take it? Did he mix in okay? There wasn't a sense of, right, I'm Billy Big Biscuit, let's say. I know that, but tell us about it.
Yeah, no, there was none of that. You know, obviously, he joined, and, you know, I think all the boys were a bit taken back
Aye.
You know, because we'd obviously seen him play for Burnley in the Premier League, and you know, for someone, I think it was actual Michael Docherty was what got him in, and but coming over, he was great. He was brilliant, and he just got mucked in with the lads, and the banter was there. You know, it was great, and.
I think did his wife come over with him sometimes as well? She
Yes.
really enjoyed it. And
she really enjoyed it. His two kids would have come over, but he was just a class act.
Yeah.
He was really, really good, and he was. I think it was, remember, he could put into the WhatsApp group, and I was actually sitting in the house with a cup of tea at the time, and I was watching Stephen Gerrard Premier League 100 goals, and it was next minute there was a penalty against Big Brian Jensen. So I remember videoing it and sending it in the chat and saying, you didn't get near this, or you know. So he saw a funny side, you know. But no, he was brilliant. He was really, really class act. But he was. I think it was his first. He wanted to win a league.
Yeah.
And it was his first league title he had ever won. And
it meant a lot to him.
It meant a lot to him, and he really, really enjoyed it. Plus, I also think that he stayed on the next year because he had never played in Europe.
That's right.
That was another thing that really stood out. Sometimes, I think, in people in the Irish League, you know, like the likes of Linfield and Torn, obviously Crusaders, Cliftonville in the past, you take playing in Europe for granted at times. You really do. And, you know, there's a man like Brian Jensen had played Premier League for years but never played in Europe and really wanted to play in Europe.
I think it's a big attraction these days for likes of players in the Scottish Championship or lower reaches of Scotland. It is a big attraction.
Massive.
Now, I said I have to go back to the Joker in the Pack now, Uggers, because he would have the final word. He did, I can't remember, he did that video clip. Do you remember? He had an ode of his own.
Yes.
Whose idea was that? Where'd that come from? Was it spur of the moment or had he planned it?
I think we'll get into the bus after winning the league. Great crack, was good banter, was flying, and I think he just went, hey, give me your phone, and I remember getting my phone out, and he sat for I think it was a couple of minutes. I think it was him and Morty sat for a couple of minutes and made this poem up, and you just couldn't write it. It was just perfect the way he done it.
Yeah, it was a riposte to Darren Macaulay's.
It was, yes.
poem.
I think it was. If I remember in my head, I think it was Darren Macaulay's spun soul poem, but Big O'Neill doesn't even know him, you know.
That's right.
And but it was great. It was just the way he done it.
Wasn't it?
It was such a perfect response.
Yeah.
Such a perfect response, and I obviously at that time, Darren Macaulay he had a brilliant season that year. You know, he was a good player. Was that him? Maybe was that wee sort of that video? Maybe a wee bit of trying to ruffle us a wee bit. You know, it was a wee way of trying to get into our camp and maybe hopefully a few bad results creep in, which is fair enough.
It is. I think in fairness, there was a real good buzz about Coleraine back at that time with that team. It was a young team under Oran Kearney, and they were riding the crest of a wave. Maybe Darren got carried away a little bit. I don't know, but you know, I think like Sean O'Reilly, you do your singing when it's all over and done.
Yep. Well, I think I don't know Darren Macaulay, but I think he seemed like a confident big lad, you know.
He's not burdened by self-doubt.
You know, so but only something like that just gave us a bit more fuel, you know, and spurred us on.
Exactly.
It worked to the opposite effect, sort of thing.
Exactly. Now, we've been talking about leagues, but there's also cup finals to discuss as well, because the attention then did sort of switch more from, it didn't switch intensely, but the success moved from being league title winners to cup winners. Take us through the cup finals as you remember and what they meant to you.
Irish Cup finals were obviously a massive day, and as I say, I grew up watching them.
Had you ever been to one as a kid?
Yes.
Watching the Glens, I assume?
Watching the Glens, yeah.
So you knew all about it?
Knew all about it, the buzz of the day, and you know, I was always close with Gary Smith and Paul Lehman and stuff back in the day. So obviously growing up and watching them, and Paul Lehman was one of my, I always say to him, it's mad, I'm good friendly with Paul now, I always text him and say, you're still one of my heroes, you know, that sort of way. No better man, absolute gentleman, you know, so I'd always been around Irish Cup final days and always wanted to play one myself. So they actually get there and, you know, they experience the final of, you know, cup final suit, the build up to the day, you know, and it lives up to its billing, you know, it's the best day in the calendar year, as everybody says, and three medals now I have, you know. And
yeah, well, take us through the different games, maybe the three successful finals,
Yeah.
and what about nerves or confidence or the occasion? And I'm also tapping into, and as you hinted at earlier on, you're moving into becoming a senior player now.
Yeah.
So are you looking out for any of the younger kids coming through? Or are you looking out for anybody who's maybe, unsettled?
Yeah, a bit unsettled. I think that the first Irish Cup, I don't think they'll get a harder run
Yes.
to the cup.
Yes.
I think we had Ballymena here, which Ballymena were going really well. I think we had them here in the first round, and then I think we went. Was it the Glens we had here as well?
Glentoran.
It was Glentoran, and then we had Linfield at Windsor, and then Coleraine at the Oval. Four big huge games. So at that stage, we'd played all those teams, and we got that final against Ballymallard. But Ballymallard had got their, playing some good football too.
On merit, of course.
On merit, 100%. And
but is there a danger, Jordan? Is there a danger? Or listen to the noise outside, right? You've beaten all the, this is almost a penalty kick. I don't mean any disrespect to Ballymallard at all, but is there a danger of that mindset seeping in?
I think if you asked the rest of the boys that have played in the Irish Cup finals here, I was probably more nervous going into that final than anything against Ballymallard.
Okay. Because
you don't want to be complacent. Yes, obviously we were massive favourites. Ballymallard knew that, we knew that, but it's turned up and doing it on the day. So probably I had a bit more. I've never been a person for nerves, but a wee bit of butterflies in your stomach's always good.
Worried about getting egg on your face?
100%. So it was my first Irish Cup final as well. So I wanted to win it. I wanted to get that winner's medal. But I think, no disrespect to Ballymallard, but I think within the first 5 minutes, I just knew that, right,
you're in the groove.
We're in the groove here, and I think we got a goal pretty early through Big Chicken. I think it was 1-0 then to half time, but then I think in the second half then we just knew that we would motor on and ended up getting the goals to win my first Irish Cup, and it was great. It was a great day. It was brilliant. The crowd was great. The crews brought an absolute great following. Ballymallard brought a great following too. So
big day out.
Big day out, and but it was them days. They're just ones that always stick in your head and remember. And I can remember getting open top bus and the whole back here, and everybody out the front, and so it was a great final. Obviously going on to the second final, playing Ballymena. That to me that was a final. It was 50-50.
Totally.
It wasn't as if like we were getting in favourites or Ballymena. It was a complete coin flip. Probably two of the greatest managers going head to head. Stephen Baxter and David Jeffrey. So
good friends, old enemies.
Two men that want to win. Once the friendship was put to the side. Once the game started. But I think we got off to a terrible start in that final. Obviously Robbie Weir with a bit of unluck. But I think Ballymena were the better team. I think the first half. Obviously us getting into the second half when you were. It was going to be tough. Ballymena wanted to sit in and made it difficult, and they did. But I think maybe
good team.
A good team. I think I can't remember who done the commentary that day. I just remember them thinking. I remember watching it back and saying that Ballymena deserved to win that cup final. Where I was looking and I was going, the whole second half we had them pinned in. Didn't create a lot of chances, but we did have them pinned in. And then it was that man Johnny Tuffy popped up to sort of help us out and get the nick. Then Josh Robinson put it in the back of the net. And I think from then, there was only going to be one winner for me, from my point of view, playing.
Still left it late.
Still left it late. I was playing. I remember just big parts of the game. I was on my own at the back quite a lot. I don't know, just from playing the game. And I remember just getting it and was just putting it into the box. And I remember just coming wide, and we left ourselves open quite a lot. I think in that final. But I just remember going to myself. I was looking at the clock, the screen, and it was 1 minute left, and I was actually in my head, I was going, right, where am I putting my penalty here? Get yourself ready. I was getting prepared until that moment, and what a moment! Like,
fabulous strike,
and to be honest, if anybody in the team at that time, you'd have probably wanted Paul Heatley or Johnny McMurray, because Johnny's great fella. I would get on really, really well with him, and he always had that in his locker. Was just, if there was one to fall, he would have scored a wonder strike.
Moment of magic.
And I was actually at the back, and I was standing, and we had some following her out there, great following, right round the whole side, right round the back. And when he scored, I think I was actually a bit sort of
dumbfounded,
stunned a wee bit, because I think there was actually a video I had on my phone. I remember watching it back, and I just remember being a bit stunned. It took me a while to actually register that, he had scored, and I remember just running, and the feeling of just they had no comeback. It was our cup really, and I think it was only maybe 20 seconds after that the final whistle blew. But I did feel for Ballymena too.
Do you know something? I was working at it, and I remember, like, you've got to obviously be professional and be objective. But of course, on the one hand, I was elated, I was shocked like yourself, I was expecting penalties. But very soon afterwards, I did feel for the manner of the defeat for Ballymena. I really did feel for them. In fact, one of my colleagues who would have been a fan of, he just got up and left. He couldn't. He just was just so crushed by it. It was to the victor that spoils. Glory for Crusaders, despair for Ballymena.
Because I was actually, whenever the final whistle went, I remember just going to a couple of boys, Ballymena boys, straight away and shaking their hand, just saying, look, I actually apologised. I think I said to them, I went, like, I'm sorry, But that's football, isn't it? That's them big moments, and them moments will stay with you. But I put myself in their shoes, and you would have felt gutted, because they put everything into it too. We did as well. It just felt a moment of magic from Johnny McMurray, and it was in the stars to happen.
It was written in the stars, is right. Stars. And of course, Ballymena had a chance to wreak revenge.
Yeah, wreak revenge. Probably you wouldn't have thought you'd have met the same team in the final, the same final 2 years in a row. But I think that final was just a bit different. Well,
from the outside, yes, of course, and the outcome was different. But I mean, what was the mentality? What was the psychology? What was the motivation going into that final? Because it had been so close. Knife edge the year before.
I actually remember Stephen in the change room at Windsor, National Stadium, sorry. And I remember in the change room, his team talk was, he walked in, and you know what he's like as a character, Stephen. He just walked in, and everybody's sitting around, and he just went like this. He started taking his jumper off. He threw the jumper down. And then next minute he had an Under Armour and a t-shirt, and he took his t-shirt off, and he threw the t-shirt down, and he just went, jumpers for goalposts. He says, jumper for goalposts. He says, look, just go out and play. He says, go out and play like you're playing in the park, like you're playing in the streets with your mates. He says, just go out and just play. He says, go and get on the ball, express yourself. He says, an Irish Cup final. He says, these don't come by that often. And he says, just go out and play. And so see,
fabulous. Confidence and freedom.
I think it was just confidence in his team. And I think at that time we were playing really well. And we did, won out and done that, won 4-0, some great goals scored. And, I think over the years, people, media, players, other teams have given the Crew stick for maybe Route 1 football, and, maybe we were at times, but other teams couldn't deal with it. But I think in Stephen in that final and years coming up to it too, we played some great football in that final. Got the ball down, knocked it right well. I remember I was right back in the game, and I remember we played some really good stuff that day, and sometimes maybe didn't get the credit for that, at times. That's
true. There was a bit of sniffiness about Crusaders. It's jealousy because of success. If you're number one, you're there to be shot at. But I was going to ask you later on, but I'll ask you now. How did, inside the dressing room, how did that sort of impact Crusaders hearing this long ball and Route 1 and hoof ball and all this carry on? Because, you know, it was put to the sword by that season with over 100 goals, obviously. Paul Higley, Gavin White, you know, Kush, yourself, there's some wonderful players, Chicken, you know, fabulous, fantastic football. But how did it ever get under your skin?
Never. It was, to me at the time, it was probably other clubs and things making excuses and trying to, you know, maybe get you to stop it. But at that time, you had the best striker in the league, Jordan Owens, and nobody could deal with him. And you had Paul Heatley that was running off him. Now, a lot of people give us stick for maybe getting the ball forward to him, but see, if he didn't win it, and we won the second ball, that was when we played football, and we were really good at playing, you know, with quick players in the wing, you know, with great players in midfield, two of the best strikers in Heats and Chicken. So that was when we played our football. You know, maybe we didn't play it through the lines or get it through the lines, but for me it was all about winning. And that was, you know, and for us that was, nobody could deal with it. You know, in them couple of seasons that we won the league and things, you know, nobody could deal with it. And why change it? You know, for other people that maybe didn't like it.